all in all, a very interesting selection. The Eagles go with their first pick, or they're picking the second round. They go with Landon Dickerson from Alabama, a guard center, who was picked 37th overall. Third round, they trade down just a couple of spots with the Panthers, and then they pick another lineman, this one a defensive lineman named Milton Williams from Louisiana Tech. So all in all, wide receiver, offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Your opening thoughts?
Dickerson was, folks, and those of you who follow the draft, they know he's an absolute superstar. I mean, he's a great football player, leader, tough guy. He's a Jason Kelsey type leader. I don't know how else to say it. He's huge, way bigger than Kelsey. He's 6'6". Unfortunately, he's come back from torn left ACL. He has a history of knee injuries. That's concerning. In fact, so concerning, I was surprised that he got cleared. When I say got cleared, he got cleared to be drafted in the second round. I would think he'd have a very bad medical grade because the Eagles medical staff, historically the docs, this is more of a new staff in recent years, but this staff typically, as I understand it, grades hard. And I'm surprised that they drafted him where they did. Now, I do know this. He was very high on their board, very highly thought of, but I had no idea that he would get cleared this early. I was a little bit surprised by that, but from a talent standpoint, my goodness gracious, not only is he one of the best not only is he the best center, Jeff, he's one of the top 5 to 7 linemen for this draft. Right. He's going in the 20s if he didn't have the ACL, but he tore his ACL in December. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he won't be able to play this season, but you can't count on him at all because he's rehabbing yet another knee injury. But obviously, if the medical staff said, hey, we think he'll get to a second contract, which they would, because you would not draft him in the second round unless you think he could. This is a good pick. It could be a great pick, but we were not going to know for a while.
Some of our listeners may remember, Adam, in the last few pods and shows that we've done, that I've been very bullish on the fact that I thought the Eagles were going to address offensive line in the second round. When we did our mock, I said Dylan Raduns I thought would be a good selection for them based on what he's supposed to be. I mentioned Jackson Carman. I did a lot of homework going into this draft on offensive linemen for that reason, because I really did feel I had a strong indication that they were going to hit offensive line early, which they've done. Mm-hmm. So I have a mix of emotions here just from intel, right? Just like you said, I had an AFC personnel guy tell me that Landon Dickerson is a top 25 talent if you take away well, that's his talent. You don't have to take the injuries out of it. Yeah. When he's on the field, he plays like a top 25 player, right? Yeah. I had another AFC personnel person, different person, say, yes, he's that talented, but he fairly said to me, name me a player, a lineman, an offensive lineman who's had 4 surgeries who has survived in the NFL for a long period of time. And maybe he goes, listen, maybe there's 1, maybe there's 2, but the point he was trying to make was the odds are against Landon Dickerson. And he felt Landon would still go in the second or third round. He said he was a first-round talent, but the words he used were scared as hell to take him. So I understand anybody who's concerned as we're talking about it now. There's a big risk here, and it's a little surprising. I mean, I know it's a different medical team with the Eagles, but in the past, guys like DK Metcalf, didn't pass their medical grades, but somehow Landon Dickerson did with all that wear and tear. You have to hope for the best case scenario. On talent alone, though, it's a very good pick. And just to your point, and we'll get into the next pick also, I am big on best player available. Don't reach. If you don't like the corners there, don't take it because you need it. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I love the philosophy of what they're doing. They are, from what I know, going by their board and staying true to it. And I'm big on that.
Yeah, look, Barmore had a character issue. That's why he didn't go. He would have been a top 20 pick. Mm-hmm. He went to the Patriots right after him because it's a character issue. So I get that. I have no problem with it. The thing, though, that me personally, I would have taken Trayvon Moehrig, who the Raiders, I believe, traded up for. That would have been my pick over Dickerson because less risk, obviously, because Moehrig is not an injury risk. He's got great measurables. He's a very big-time upside safety out of TCU. But the Eagles took one of the top linemen for the draft, but there's risk here. Now, again, before we move on, the medical staff clearly had no issue because if they did, he would not go 5th overall in the second round. There's just, to me, this holds risk, but I don't have access to this medical staff, so I just know the way it works. You're not taking them there unless they sign off on it. It's really amazing to me. But hey, all right.
I agree. I think it's really fascinating. I know Howie Roseman and some Eagles guys are speaking kind of now as we're doing this live stream. So apologize for anybody that's watching this.
We'll talk
after the live stream, but we'll fill in.
Not even worried about it.
But I want to kind of quickly go into how he might figure into the situation here if he's able to play.
He's
I think you and I thought that. If they were to draft an interior offensive lineman, like we talked about Rashawn Slater, what if they drafted him and didn't want to start him off at tackle right away? What would they do? Probably play him at right guard, and maybe Brandon Brooks would become available. I don't know that anybody is now suddenly going to be on the block now that they've added Dickerson. I'm guessing they're going to be patient with him, and he's a really good backup this coming year if he can play and somebody on the inside gets hurt.
Yeah, we have no idea whether he'll be able to play this year because he got hurt in December. And we don't know how strong that knee is going to be. Now, obviously, they have the testing numbers. They know the strength of that knee because he had to go back for the medical recheck in Indy, and it must have gone well. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm a little bit dubious over this thing in terms of the injury history, but the talent is. I mean, if you talk to coaches, Jeff, around the NFL, they're like, "Oh my, this kid is an absolute stud."
Right.
But there's a reason why he didn't go in the first round. It's very clear. In fact, I did not think he'd go this early. I'll be honest with you. I because of the injuries. You and I knew about the injury history on it because we did background on him before the draft. Mm-hmm. I just didn't see him go this early. I'm a little bit surprised, quite frankly.
As I understand it, and then you may have more info on me, or neither of us may have, but it's 4 surgeries, 2 ACLs, one's an ankle, I believe, and I don't know if it was a major ankle or a cleanup or anything like that. I don't remember what the 4th one was. I don't know if it matters at this point, but there's 4 key injuries that he did have, 2 of them which ended his season early. Big risk. High risk, high reward. No doubt about it. It's funny. Yep. This really is all these years later, right? This is the Sidney Jones of the offensive line for them.
Well, where Sidney Jones unfortunately got hurt right before the draft. And Greg Cosell was talking about it on our pre-draft show. Sidney Jones was undeniable from the tape study. This guy was a stud. Right. Now, the other thing they missed in the football character because there were some issues we've talked about before with his competitiveness and all that. Mm-hmm. But he got hurt towards Achilles in February or March of 17. And then, look, his career just never took off. Now he's reviving his career with the Jaguars, but nevertheless, he also has had injury issues, a lot of hamstring. He was hurt last year, missed significant time. But look, we'll see what happens, and we'll learn more. By the way, we're doing a post-draft wrap-up of all 7 rounds. We'll have more intel tomorrow, right at the end of it. The draft ought to be done by 7 p.m. Eastern. If that'd be the latest, would be over. Within a half an hour, we'll be up and running there. We'll break it down for you. We'll have way more intel because that's kind of the way it works. Overnight, we'll have more information. But look, it's been an interesting draft for the Eagles. And the 3rd rounder, holy smokes, wasn't expecting that one.
Well, the 3rd rounder, I think, Adam, people are upset about with Milton Williams. I mean, I'm not all over social media. I try to stay off. I just tweet and go.
Yeah, I haven't seen it at all.
But I sense that many people thought after you went offensive line 2nd round, wide receiver 1st round, that there's no possible way the Eagles could go through the 3rd round and not take a cornerback because it's their most glaring need, or a linebacker, right? And the fact that it was a defensive tackle, right, a position that they're fairly strong at, I think,
not for the future. They're not. No, they don't.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Not for the future, but people are sometimes more concerned about immediate, and they're seeing that glaring.
It's not the way it works in the draft.
That's why I like the pick. That's why I like the pick.
Okay, well, tell me what you like about it. Go ahead.
Well, let me first say this. I received 3 text messages, unsolicited, from league sources that were all positive about them. Good pick. Why don't people like this pick? This is excellent. One of them was a high-ranking personnel source who kind of went into a great. I said, "Well, what do you like?" And he started to list off the thing: explosive burst. Shows up on tape right away. Has the athleticism to play both D end and D tackle. Now, why is that important? More so now than ever before, Adam, because as we've reported, Jonathan Gannon's defensive line scheme is going to have a lot more movement up front than Jim Schwartz's has.
Sure.
You're going to see twisting and stunting. So you want ends who can rush, loop inside. You want tackles who can loop outside. And it sounds from the description there that this is exactly the type of player who fits that kind of scheme. Great character, kid, I've heard, and I get it. So I'm going to make this statement. I get it. The cornerback that we talked about, Benjamin St-Juste, went right after Williams. And I'm sure people saw that and went bonkers, right? If you feel, as an organization, that Milton Williams is going to be a better overall player than Benjamin St-Juste or whatever linebacker is there, then it's your obligation to take your best overall player. And I have no issue with it. Yeah,
we'll find out if they reached what I mean. Did they take him where they're supposed to? Because teams list him as a defensive end, but there are a couple issues that are negative. Short arms, 31.5. That's short.
Yep.
Now, what I liked is at his pro day, he benched 34. That's actually good. 34 reps at 225 is really good. Broad jump, 10-1 was okay. The vertical was great, 38.5. Lower body explosion, that's really good.
Right.
Not that a 40 time matters at all for defensive linemen. Joe Banner laughed at that when he heard that. He thinks it's stupid. He goes, it means nothing. But 6'3", 284. He might play inside and outside. It's an interesting pick. I just don't know if he. I'm assuming again to finish this off. I'm assuming this is where they had him graded.
I mean, don't you think that because they have such a glaring need at corner and linebacker and took a defensive tackle that they were. I mean, that would be an indication to me that they just went with the best player there. I mean, it's not a glaring position of need.
Well, no, it is definitely. Remember, it is. Fletcher Cox is older.
Yeah.
When you look at their D line, who's the future D end? I mean,
I meant of immediate need, right? No, but compared to
you don't draft for immediate need. You don't draft for immediate need in the third round.
That's why I'm saying this was probably a prospect they had to have highly rated because they think
I'm okay with it, but I was a little bit surprised because he's a small school guy, and typically I can't speak to their coaching staff, but when you go to schools like Louisiana Tech, there's always concerns with technique because the lower level of college typically they don't have high end coaches. This is what coaches tell me.
Right.
And they see it on tape when they're grading for the draft. Now, this kid, just looking at the stuff that was sent to me in the last half an hour, as you're talking about, lower body explosion, pretty gifted kid, needs to clean up in technique. This level here, he'll get coached up. He's got Tracy Rocker, long time defensive line coach in college football. So we'll see. Look, we'll see if he's ready. We'll see what he can contribute. I don't know that he'll contribute at all this season, quite frankly.
Right.
He'll have an opportunity. Well, he'll make the team, but whether he drafts on draft day depends on how he does in training camp. And yet another example, man, I would wish these young guys would get an off season. It's too bad.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, at least he has enough games in college where you think it's not going to be, like you're throwing it. It's not like a Davion Taylor situation, I think, where the kid just learned the position or anything like that. So you hope that he's at least shows up ready to go. Of course, Adam, it would not be an Eagles draft if there wasn't a little bit of drama involved.
Yeah, I'm looking now. Wait, before we get to what you're going to talk about, I just was looking at social. Yeah, because what happens is fans typically, if they don't know who the player is, they think the Eagles reached. It's just that's social. I get it. As I call it, unsocial media. It's like, okay, I'm good if you knew about the player and you watched him, like our Andrew Duchek, and you had a problem, I'm good with it. But if you've never seen the player and you've never heard of him, don't tell me it's a reach.
Right. Props to Andrew DeCecco, by the way, because he
did a great job. He's got a great write-up on the website. Yeah, great job by Andrew. So, but I tend to ignore comments like that when they say the Eagles reach because like I know like when over the time when the general managers missed on some picks, people go, oh, see, he reached for a player. Okay, but this case, I mean, if you've never heard of the player, it's not like he went in the first round, you never heard of him. He went in the third round. I mean, it's funny. I expect it because I've lived here my whole life, so I know how it is.
Yeah, of course. You can't please everybody all the time.
Since you've lived for a long time here, you know.
I do know. So as I was saying, the Eagles can't have a draft without a little bit of drama, right? So,
oh God, yeah, go ahead.
And I feel bad for them because it seems like they've tried to do everything right. And Howie has been so deferential to Andy Weidel and Nick Sirianni. And they're obviously putting on this, I don't want to call it a facade. I mean, maybe it's really true, but they're trying to show you how collaborative, inclusive, and how smooth the process has gone.
Tom Donahoe's big time involved.
And of course, that's the center of what I'm about to bring up, is that this video goes viral of Howie trying to give a fist pound to Donahoe after the third round. He's like not having anything about it. Now, he was asked about it in a presser. I know I've seen the tweets on video, and Howie said, look, not everybody agrees all the time. And everybody works really hard all year long, pouring into that, and then some people are disappointed. He's basically tried to say that's what happens, right?
Well, you know what?
And maybe it's just simple as that.
You know what's interesting about Roseman, and we've talked about this before. We can move this forward. So he doesn't even deny that he reached last year, based on the Athletic article when he was asked about it, which shocked me. Okay, and I don't know this, but I'm just sort of surmising after what's happened with the Eagles and all these reports that have come out, including stuff we put out there. Mm-hmm. He's probably just saying, look, I'm not, it's no point. It's been reported, and it's obvious come out of their building. Guys are speaking to reporters, guys are, so they're not ripping Howie personally. They're just not happy that he doesn't always go by the board. That's what, to me, if you put a framework to every off the record comment, anything or anonymous quotes, whatever, it seems it's very consistent. It's that they don't go by the board, particularly the general manager. Now, Tom Donahoe is one of Howie's sort of mentors. As we reported 3 or 4 years ago when we first started our show, Tom Donahoe was so instrumental in the success of the 2016 draft. Don't let that very okay. He set the board, and Roseman followed to a T. And now again, I'll see what Roseman's comments are. Yep. But I find it interesting that he actually admitted that, I'm guessing based on I'm only going by what you said, that Tom didn't agree with it. And that's why he didn't high five him back. Hey, it's drama. And the Roseman's actually admitting that is, wow, okay.
Yeah, right. I'll give you the direct quote. He said, at the end of the day, Milton Williams is an exciting player. He had first mentioned that there were some guys that liked other guys at 70. Clearly, Tom Donahoe, okay? Yeah. And he says, quote, at the end of the day, Milton Williams is an exciting player for our football team. We're excited to have him. I don't want to take away from his day. I'm sorry, that's the second half of the quote. The first part was, these guys spend all year scouting these guys, and you get favorites, guys you feel strongly about. We all do. That's the fun part of being in the draft room, the emotions of it. Now, the last part of that was like the Howie spin. That's the fun part of it. It's not fun for everybody when they don't.
No, you get. But here's my again. I have to listen to it, so I'm just going to react based on the quotes you read me.
Sure.
I would have a problem with it because he's talking about guys that work in this all year. What matters is those guys and Andy Weidel, they're setting the board. Go by the board. If Milton Williams is the next player, I got no problem with it. If you took a guy who was 10 spots down based on grading, that's a problem. Now, I don't know what Tom Donahoe's issue was. Here's my issue would be if the grade said take Milton Williams and Tom had a problem with it, I got a problem with Tom. If the grade said not to take Milton Williams, I got a problem with the general manager.
Well, you're right. We don't know, but I would say when you get to the third round, you have a lot of players in a cluster there that can have from different positions that can have similar grades. And maybe it's not always about who's the best available, but maybe like this guy is better for our club at this point than this guy. I don't know. You're making an excellent point, and we don't know. But you can see how.
Find out. Listen,
you can see how there would be a disagreement over something that's not as easy as where's the grade.
We always find out. We were the first people to put out that J.J. Arthega-Whiteside was an analytics pick. We put that out 2 years ago. What we're going to get it. A good friend of ours, I actually should. He's in the media. That doesn't texted me, and I didn't. He was. And then you texted me, and he goes, "What is this about?" I go, "I have no idea." I said, and then you sent me the video, and I looked at it. I'm like, "Oh, geez." But this is it. This tip. It's like. You couldn't make it up. How the hell did this get out? So what it was, they showed the Eagles website showed like their draft room.
I think it was probably the NFL Network feed because they've been showing all the war room stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Again, I feel bad for the Eagles. They totally don't want this out there.
Sure. But, I give. You know what?
At the time.
It sounds like what you're reading. Roseman owned up to it. Okay. Well,
kind of hard not to at that point, but yes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. All right. Listen, it's so funny. I swear this is a live stream. We did not script this. You just come on.
Uh-oh.
I come on. You mentioned JJ Arcega-Whiteside and the analytics that played a role in that. And I actually wanted to transition amazingly to talking about analytics and the pick of Devontae Smith yesterday. Cause I think you remember this when the Eagles traded down with Miami down to 12, right? From 6 to 12.
Yep.
He had done a show a day or two later, and I said that I enlisted an analytics expert that I know.
Oh, right.
He works for NFL and college teams. He does analytics projects for them, just to ask him about the value of the trade. And he said it was a good. Well, he didn't say it was like, oh my God, home run, but he said it was a win for the Eagles as far as analytics. So I went back to him today to ask him about moving up for Devontae Smith. And what he said was that was an anti-analytics approach to give up a third-round pick to move up two spots in the first round. I didn't even ask him if the whole positional value of wide receiver versus moving up for something else, but that's really not the point. The point to me, Adam, is that this was not an analytics influence decision as far as moving up. This expert says that it actually isn't, analytically in line with what the number or the chart would say. I don't study the chart. I know what the point system is. I can't tell you. That's why I reach out to him. But I find that pretty fascinating a year after, we've criticized them for 2 straight years on having analytics influence. I have a hard time thinking analytics also played into Landon Dickerson and all those injuries, right? I mean, because your how you test and your physicality and your health probably is impacted.
That's it. It had nothing to do with analytics. It's because, as a matter of fact, he's massive for a center. Centers usually are not over 6'3". In fact, I don't even know how to measure analytically because he's huge. I mean, he's kind of beloved by the scouting community. Just talking to some guys around the league about him. Just trying to dig on offensive linemen like you were, and oh my God, universally everybody loves the kid. He's just an absolute superstar, but he's got the knee injury.
All right. Another interesting tidbit on the Devontae Smith selection.
Yeah.
I was told that one person who was very bullish on Devontae Smith, and most people don't even know who he is or his name. We do. Do you know Joe Panunzio, who is now the assistant special teams coach? Yeah. Just recently named that, but he's been with the team as their director of player development or team development. Yeah. He's a guy who came here from Alabama. In Chip, left, went back to Alabama for a few years, then came back to the Eagles. So he's been here for the last 2 or 3 years, right? Sure. I was told he was very instrumental. His voice in kind of banging the table for Devontae Smith. And you know what's really even more fascinating about that? Is that I was told he was not even part of the process last year when it came to drafting Jalen Hurts, as far as getting his counsel on it. Isn't that interesting?
That's bizarre. Wow.
I mean, this guy knows Alabama probably better than anyone. As much as Stoutland or anybody else.
How the hell is that even possible? Like, they didn't talk to him.
It kind of lines up, though, with the idea that we've reported that, nobody knew Jalen Hurts was coming.
Okay. So they kept it away from him because they knew how controversial it was. I'm just reading to what you're saying.
Yeah, but I mean, a guy with the ties that he worked at Alabama for a long time.
He was one of he's really, I'll tell you what, he is super well respected in their build. In fact, Roseman kept him from Chip Kelly. Ed Manowitz and Panunzio are close.
Yeah,
I give him credit for keeping him, and then that's ridiculous. But okay,
yeah,
I get it. I hear you, but
it feels like this year's draft is the opposite from an approach standpoint of last year's draft. I was very outspoken last year after the draft about how I felt the process was for the first 3 picks. Doesn't even matter about the players, the process. I didn't like it that much. I was outspoken about that. I said at one point it felt like they were just picking from a menu of analytics-based, prospects. This year it feels different, and I appreciate the approach. And you know what? Some of these guys may not work out, but I appreciate the approach.
I'm a little bit curious. I don't want to say concerned. I just want to know more about the 3rd pick. Kid from Louisiana Tech.
Okay, that's
fair. You and I
have
similar information. He's a very interesting player.
Yeah,
but I just want to know where I need to check with other teams. I want to know where he should have gone. But now you had guys text you and say, "Hey, it's a good pick." Okay,
right.
But I do want to know. There's certain people I want to check with who know defensive line. I want to know kind of where they thought he should have gone. But anyway, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pick for the future. It's a need. It's definitely a down the line need. Boy, they are super late. Matter of fact, not only this year, next year, is it make sense. Right now, who is their number 2 D tackle?
Javon Hargrave.
And then who's their third? Right, Hargrave and Cox. Okay.
Well, they did re-sign Ridgeway on a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken.
He's
a fourth tackle.
Very little for them because he's been hurt.
Right, he's a fourth tackle, as we've said many times.
So they don't have a set third and fourth. They have a bunch of guys competing for the job.
Right. Well, I remember
Raekwon Williams.
We were high on Raekwon Williams as an undrafted free agent, but that's not, you can't bank on that.
You don't even. He needs, first of all, new coaching staff needs to make the team. Hassan Ridgeway.
Totally agree.
He's got ability. He just doesn't put it together. So right now they're super light. They have no depth. Number one. Number two, they have Cox is. I don't know that he'll be past 2022. His cap numbers continue to go up. At some point, they're going to have to look at his contract. He's not the same player he once was. Still very good. He does turn 31 in December, Jeff. So let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so I get this pick. I get it. Mm-hmm. I just wonder if he could have been gotten later. Who knows? We'll find out.
Well, listen, we owe it to our we're reacting on the night of. We'll get more intel and have more for our next show and podcast. Sure. Before we get out of here, day 3, what do you think we can expect?
Well, this is where I expect the Zach Ertz thing to go. This is where I expect him to go. I did not expect him to go in the 3rd round or these crazy reports about, the Eagles are trying to use him as a trade chip to move up in the 1st round. Someone sent me that, and I didn't even answer it. It was so absurd, and it was totally not.
Maybe if you're adding a more picks and Zach Ertz,
3 ones in the future. I don't understand. Some of these reports, and the other thing that I don't even care anymore, but I just laugh. Like, there was a report that Kellen Mond might go in the 1st round, totally based on an agent. There's so much bad agent stuff that's out there. I roll my eyes and go, okay, yeah, whatever. Some of it, some agents are really plugged in. Some are just working reporters, and it's just bad reporting.
Right.
Okay, whatever. But getting back, the Ertz thing, I expect to go day 3. I still expect it. We'll see. Never to say never. I mean, they've been trying, and you and I know the same stuff. They've been working on it this whole draft. I'll leave it at that. I'll go no further.
Absolutely. Real quick, is the Stanford quarterback still available?
No, he went way early.
He did? Who did he go to? I didn't see.
He actually, not only did he go early, Mond went first, Davis Mills went second in the 3rd round. I did not expect Mills, because of his knee injury, to go that early. I would have loved Mond to go to the Eagles in the 3rd or 4th round. Mills, the problem is the knee, but he's got way more ability than Mond. It's just that he wears a bulky brace and he does not move around well. That's a problem.
Right. All right. So there's Jamie Newman, there's Ian Book, there's Felipe Franks, all possibilities. And there will be some corners and safeties that the Eagles will probably at some point come. Yeah,
wow, no corners. Holy. Elijah Mulder went. I'll say this about corner. Here's where the Eagles did a good job. I could tell you the belief around the league was in round 2. There were only 2 or 3 good outside corners. When I say good, they're low-end number 2 corners. They all have issues. They don't play the ball well in the air. Technique-wise, they got a long way to go. There's something wrong with each corner where I know a lot of guys I trust go, you know what, this guy is a backup, may start down the road, don't like him. Mm-hmm. The cornerback group this year was not very good. That's the truth. The kid that won the 1st round
is how it was
the kid that won the 1st round to the Packers he's Eric.
Stokes.
Stokes from Georgia. Man, he's got some challenges, man. He's athletic, he can move.
Right.
But he does not play to his athleticism. This is from by the way, this is from a DB's coach. He's the only guy that I trust with this stuff. He's like, he works for a team out west. He's like, he gave him a 3rd round grade. He didn't like him at all. How about that?
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Yep. All right, so we will see, and we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we will not do a live stream. We're just going to do a show after the end of the draft, and of course Sunday we'll do our normal podcast that'll drop.
That'll be dropped Monday morning.
On Monday morning, and we'll have everything covered from A to Z. So for Adam Kaplan, I'm Jeff Mosher. Big thanks to Jimmy Hyden from Rebel Hill Productions. Make sure you check out our friends at SkyMotorcars.com, Deal Dash, DraftKings. Thanks to everybody. We'll catch up with you again tomorrow.